YouTube Force Arena Commanders, welcome to a brand new Let's Play video. Today we're talking about the basic cards that you get in the game. So whenever you play the game, you, as mentioned in the previous video, you have to upgrade your cards and unlock new cards by opening your play packs up. And as you can see at the bottom here, as Rebels, because we've been playing Rebels, these are the kind of things you get: leaders, uniques, and other extra units that you get. So for example, Princess Leia has Ivana here, who is a unique card, and they have special abilities that they deploy on the battlefield in 1v1 and 2 versus 2. And you can use these at any time, but obviously you need to unlock those cards from the packs as you play the game. Luke has got Ben Kenobi, as we all know, but Ben costs a lot of energy. He costs 8 energy. The reason being that he's very powerful. He can actually do a Jedi mind trick and convert all units apart from the SKYWALKER on the battlefield to your team, which can really change the tide of a battle, which is why it costs so much. So you've got all the main characters in there: Cassian, Bodhi, Baze from the Rogue One films too, and some characters from the Rebels comic books as well. So the Wookiee Warrior is a card you used to get at the start. Now if you're looking to tank, as I was showing you in the first video, these make a great tank. So the turret locks into the Wookiee Warrior, and then you go behind the Wookiee Warrior and focus your attack on the turret, be it charging a turret like I did with Luke, or if you're a ranged character using your gun to take it down. You've got a very high health pool, and these are one of the staples in most low level games in 1v1 or 2 versus 2. But if you haven't got that particular unit, as I haven't here because it's tier 2 now, the light tank replaces that really. It's a high energy cost of 6, but it has got a high energy pool. So if you're looking to deploy this on the battlefield, you really want to deploy this at the back, so that way as the tank moves further up the battlefield, you're regenerating your energy, so you can drop down some more units to support it and support a push, like I was doing earlier. So these are the kind of units it's strong against and weak against. Heavy gunners and rocket troopers will just decimate the light tank, literally bring it to its knees in a blink. But it's very strong against everything else, as you can see there. But I tend to use Raw Guards. Raw Guards are my favourite unit to use. Not only are they strong against 80 SKYWALKERs, but they can also beat the crap out of a turret, as you saw in the video Let's Play 1. Great unit, but again they're just can come under attack from heavy gunners, probe droids. Now probe droids, if you deploy a probe droid, when it self-destructs, it'll clean out most of the enemies there, but it will not kill the Raw Guards because they've got a high hit points. Same goes for Wookiee Warriors as well. Malaz Warriors are a great counter as well to the 80 SKYWALKERs if you have these in your pack. They can take down turrets, take down rocket troops, but do not send them onto the main objective turrets. They're great for taking down deployed turrets, but not the objective turrets, because they've got such a small health pool, they'll just die relatively quickly. So if you haven't got anything else and your opponent drops an 80 SKYWALKER, you want to counter it with one of these, and they'll make quick work of it. But obviously you can support the Malaz Warrior in that defense against a Walker if you need to, or rocket troopers. But things like the Dewback, Probe Droid, and the Sand Trooper will just kill all of them in one foul swoop. So be mindful of that when you do deploy them on the battlefield. Make sure there's no enemies around. X-Wing fighters. These are great for if you're having a Imperial push and there's a lot of troopers there. You can use these to literally clean the floor. They'll literally just wipe out most units that the Empire have to offer. I think the only ones they won't take out will be obviously the Dewback there. And they may not take out a Sand Trooper in one go, but they take out everything else. And obviously if their hit points have been reduced through combat, then they will clean out everything. They're great to use as well against enemy turrets. So if a turret has got very small bit of health and you need it to win the game but you can't get there, you can do an X-Wing bombing run, and that should take down a turret for the win. Rebel Twi'lek soldiers, melee characters, have very low hit points, only cost 1 energy, and extremely weak. Now I don't normally use these. Some players do, but I don't. The only reason I'm using them obviously is because this is all we've got at the moment. Good against 80 SKYWALKERs and rocket troopers, but weak against everything, including a light breeze. We'll just blow them over. So they're not great to have, but you know, at the start that's what it counters, so it's good to know that information. One of my favourite cards is the Rebel Grenadier. That's coming up now. So these will throw a grenade into a group of enemy. Once it's locked onto a particular target, that's the enemy it will focus on, and that includes heavy gunners too. It can really just literally decimate Imperial troopers in 1 or 2 grenade throws. Not good against much anything else, but if you've got troopers in front, these are great to, as I showed in the video earlier on, great to deploy to the side, to behind you, just to cover, and I'll just throw grenades and take care of anything in front in terms of foot soldiers that the Empire might have. Great card, don't underestimate it. And finally, you've got the Rebel soldiers. These are the staple of the Rebel fleet, I suppose, Rebel forces. So low hit points, low damage, can take out ATSTs and rocket troopers. Now with the Imperial Pro droid, if they attack it, it will kill all of them. But they will focus it. They're not so good against ATST. I mean, they wouldn't be my first choice against an ATST walker, but if that's all you've got at the time, you can throw those down, or Malaz Warrior. So that really is it for the Rebels. In there, as we unlock more cards, we'll talk about more of the cards as we go and explain what they do and don't do, so you know what counters what. It's important that you understand what counters what. But let's look at the Empire now. So we talked about the Imperial Pro droid a lot, and as you can see here, you've got Orson Krennic, and his Death Squad leader is his unique card. So what a Death Squad leader does, he'll deploy 2 additional troopers on the battlefield, and they are absolutely lethal in combat. They really are strong. But an X-Wing bombing run can wipe the floor, but not the leader. The leader will survive, but they can kill more or less everything on the battlefield if left to their own devices. So we've talked about all the unique spaces. See the Rebel cards here, you've got ATST walkers, you've got grenades, dark access grenades, traps, turrets, TIE fighter bombing runs. You've got quite a lot of variety compared to what the Rebels have. So we've talked about the Imperial Probe, so let's focus on that for our first card. So the Imperial Probe draw is like a taunt, and it's good against almost everything on the battlefield. Although it says it's weak against it, it's only because it will self-destruct and get killed quicker by Rebel troopers, for example, or a sniper from distance. But once it self-destructs, it will kill almost every Rebel soldier close to it, apart from the Wookiee warrior and the Royal Guard, because they have a much higher hit point, so they won't die. But everything else it will kill. And bearing in mind, when you drop that, it's great to drop it down. If you're defending the turret and there's a big Rebel push of troopers coming, you deploy this, and what happens is they will all swarm on it and attack it because it taunts them. That way either your troopers or you or your turret can attack the Rebels and pick them off one at a time until the droid self-destructs. Great thing. Light tank, much like the Rebel tank, but it's got less hit points, deals more damage, and is a bit more manoeuvrable. Great way to push an attack. If you want to get behind this and attack, have a turret lock onto it and you just deal damage as you push. But they will attack absolutely everything on the map, much like the Rebel tank does. There's no particular unit it favours, it will just attack everything. Can do a lot of damage to leaders too in 1v1 or 2 versus 2 if you're making a push down the lanes, for example. So look at the heavy gunners. Now these can be absolutely devastating against Rebel tanks, Wookiee warriors, anything that's a heavy unit for the Rebel side. These heavy gunners will make fast work of them. And it also includes leaders. They will absolutely tear leaders down relatively quickly. Snipers not so much, because obviously snipers are ranged and they are much bigger range than what the heavy gunners have got. But it's a sort of good unit to use as a counter. So for example, if the Rebel soldier drops down a light tank, you deploy these and they will just chop it to bits in a blink. Superb! But be mindful of these in the battlefield. They really can cause a lot of damage. Next up, looking at the TIE Fighter. The TIE Fighter works exactly the same way as the Rebel X-Wing does. So the hit points are the same, the damage is the same it does to buildings, to troopers, for example. And again, if you're a Rebel player, for example, with a TIE Fighter, so one of the Rebels' common tricks is to swarm lot of troopers, and as you can see, the TIE Fighter will just absolutely mow down almost all the troopers. Again, it won't kill Wookiee warriors or Royal Guards because of the hit points, but everything else they throw down, Malaz warriors, troopers, flamethrowers, all those kind of things, it'll just make very quick work of. But it will obviously hit them and damage the other ones, so it will reduce the hit points, making them easier to kill if you've got other troopers on the battlefield defending too. One of my favourite cards here is a Bladesman. Again, these are a staple in most players' decks when you're playing 1v1 or 2 versus 2. They'll make quick work of leaders, troopers, and even a Rebel light tank. So if you haven't got anything to counter the light tank. For example, the heavy gun is too expensive at 5 energy, these only cost 3, and you can deploy these and I'll just make quick work of that light tank. The same goes against a GNK droid and again most heavy rebel units, but it will be subject to grenadiers and other rebel troopers too that might attack them, but they are one of the staples in the battlefield. Great to counter almost everything and can make a big surprise if you drop them behind a leader, enemy leader, and I'll just chop them to pieces and game on. The Sand Trooper works the same way as the Grenadier does for the rebels, so he fires an explosive blaster against as warrior rebel soldiers, for example, and he'll kill those in one go. Again, against Wookiee warriors and all the troopers you see below there, he won't kill them as much. He'll do as much damage as he possibly can, but not take off as much hit points because they're just far too strong, but he will do a lot of damage to them, and again it's a great counter if rebels have a big push. And finally you have the Stormtroopers, which, as you know, Stormtroopers, so they've got much greater health pool, better attacking power than the rebel soldiers have got, but there's only 3 of them compared to the rebels 4. Does it make a difference? I'll argue it doesn't, but again, these are great to have on the battlefield as a last resort trooper to take down any rebel soldier pushes, to deal with the drop pods, for example, which we'll talk about later in the game when we use them. But that really is it in a nutshell. The great thing is, when you're making a deck, is to keep your energy cost as low as possible. So I've got 3.4 energy cost here, which is really respectable, because obviously the higher the average cost, the longer it takes for you to deploy a card on the battlefield. So I hope you liked the video. If you've got any questions, please leave a comment below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I will be making some more videos, opening up some more packs. I've got some victory packs and play packs to open up in the next video, when we will be playing the Empire in 1 vs 1 2v2 and carrying on our missions, because we're going to follow the quest line for the missions to get as high levels as we possibly can and unlock more cards and more bits and pieces as we play. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video. May the Force be with you.